Running Village. We're going to give you the lowdown on the drop today, and you know, we wanted to give you a chance to kind of see the difference. It's been a long time coming. We probably should have done this video a long time for you. So I'm going to try to pack a bunch of information in, you know, 2 or 3 minute segments. So here we go. Basically, the drop. What does quote unquote the drop mean? All they're really talking about in shoes when they talk about the drop for running is the difference from the heel height to the forefoot height. And predominantly for the last probably couple decades, shoes have been around a 12 millimeter drop, give or take, maybe 14 to 12 or 14 to 11. Meaning the rear end might be 24 millimeters high and the front end 12 millimeters. So that's the height differential from heel to toe. What happened when Born to Run came out and you know, the Vibram shoes and all this minimal stuff started happening, now all of a sudden people are talking about the drop and trying to figure out what's going on. What I want to do is pretext this whole discussion by saying that just because you go from a shoe that's 12 millimeters drop to maybe this might be 4 millimeters does not mean that now you're forefoot striking just because you're in a shoe. I've seen people in Vibrams that are 0 millimeter drop run with a heel strike, alright? Meaning they're not lifting their knee and their body's not here on top of their foot. They're swinging through and slamming their heel in front of them, putting on the brakes, pounding all that weight into the foot until they toe off and come through, okay? You can heel strike in Vibrams. You can run on your toes in a shoe with 12 millimeter drop. So really, I think the biggest thing that comes out of this movement that I like is it's now placing some responsibility on the runner to work on their form. You know, some of the shoes even 2 years ago or even a year ago still had a 14 millimeter stack height heel to toe, which means they were giving you a ton of cushion because we were all kind of calling for it. Well, I want a shoe with a ton of cushion for protection. Well, now what's going on is shoes are starting to come down from 12 millimeters maybe to 10 or 8, still being a high mileage training shoe, but it feels a little quicker. You don't have such a chunk on the heel, and so it allows you to maybe more easily midfoot strike and not heel strike, but you still have to work at it. So that's quote unquote the drop, and what's more efficient, what's better for you. Just be mindful that you're checking it out. I haven't seen a lot of people in zero drop shoes running 60 miles a week or training for marathons, and that being said, it doesn't mean maybe you couldn't do it, but if you're zero drop with minimal protection, you should be on dirt, not on pavement. I mean, you know, people that are running barefoot in you know, these long lost cultures are not running on asphalt streets, you know, 60 miles a week. They're running on dirt, and they've been doing it their whole life, so it's a transition. So be real smart about it and know that the shoes are coming down. ASICS is launching some of their core shoes in 10 millimeters. Saucony's launching theirs in 8, and a lot of the companies are starting to kind of not be so heavily wedged and come down here where it's a little more minimal, it feels a little faster, and helps you be a midfoot striker, but also gives you enough protection. When you move down to 4 millimeters or 0 or maybe even 6, you now have just less of a shoe. So if you're pounding 50 miles a week training for a marathon, you're going to still be pounding a little bit, so you better be working really hard on your form because you need to be efficient so you don't get hurt.
All right, so what do you think is the optimal drop?
Yeah, you know, I think 12 millimeters was high. I think that, you know, you can slam too much into a shoe, but some people do really well with that, and they should probably stick to that if they're staying healthy with no questions. Now, I think when you start to get below probably 8 millimeters, you're starting to be in a shoe that's pretty minimal. It's lighter weight, it's flexible probably, but it also has less underneath it, so you're going to pound more. And so you better be really working on your form and really trying to have an efficient stride, because the shoe itself now probably isn't going to last as long mileage-wise or time-wise because there's less in the shoe. And so I think this 8 to 10 millimeter drop right now seems to be pretty intelligent because it's still going to give you a shoe that lasts well, but drops you a little bit so you become more efficient and pound less as well. Also be mindful of the shoe because it is lighter weight, it's more flexible. If you're not on dirt all the time, you are on asphalt, you're going to go through those shoes a little quicker. So we found a lot of the shoes are maybe 175 to 250 mile shoes maybe versus other shoes that people would say are 300 to 500 miles. That may not go across the board, but I bet it's predominantly across the board for most of them. So just be mindful of that.